Chief Executive says no room for Hong Kong independence advocacy at schools. Typhoon lashes Hokkaido after wreaking havoc in Japan's Kanto region. And former French President Nicolas Sarkozy plans to run for the top job again next year.
Good evening. The chief executive today further stated the case against students discussing Hong Kong independence in schools. Leung Chun-ying argued that school rules should be tougher than laws in society.
With the new academic year just around the corner, there is still no end in sight to the controversy over discussions of Hong Kong independence at schools. Today, Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying was asked about plans by some students to distribute flyers advocating Hong Kong independence when school resumes after the summer break. The CE made clear Hong Kong independence is simply out of the question. Leung said once again this has nothing to do with freedom of speech. He said school regulations should be stricter than society's laws. For example, swearing won't get people into legal trouble. But if a student swears in school, he or she risks expulsion. That's why Hong Kong independence should not be promoted in schools. The CE's comments were echoed by the education chief. Secretary for Education Eddie Ng said Hong Kong independence violates the basic law and destroys the one country, two systems principle. So the idea of Hong Kong independence and any related activities should not appear on campuses. The education chief added there is a consensus in the education sector that current guidelines can adequately handle the issue.
Show flats for One Kai Tak were open to potential buyers today. It's the first private housing project under the Hong Kong Property for Hong Kong People scheme, and it's expected they'll be priced in the same range as flats above MTR lines. Anne-Marie Sim reports.
Potential buyers of the first residential development project under the Hong Kong Property for Hong Kong Residents scheme queued up this morning to view its show flats. There are 545 units for sale, ranging from studio flats to four-room units. The saleable floor area per unit ranges from 360 to 850 square feet, and they all come with home appliances and have been decorated to a high standard. The developer plans to announce the cost of the flats this week, but has indicated that it will base the guide price on properties built above MTR lines. This woman thinks the flats will likely cost around $12,000 per square foot, but since they are only for Hong Kong permanent residents to buy, she'll probably get one for herself. Under the scheme, introduced to help middle-class buyers priced out of the red-hot property market in recent years, the flats can only be sold to Hong Kong permanent residents for the first 30 years. Transfer of sale or rental must receive written consent from the Lands Department, and the flat cannot be bought under a company name. To avoid credit default, if the property is being transferred to a non-local resident, the buyer needs to apply for a mortgage at an organisation approved under the banking ordinance, not a financial loan company. Some analysts are estimating that the flats will be sold below market price, since there are restrictions on resale and rental. Centreline Property Agency founder Shi Wing-ching urged the government to implement a scheme to help first-time home buyers. In 2013, the government announced it would sell by tender 2 Kai Tak sites with a total area of 1.6 hectares for building 1,100 flats, specifically for the Hong Kong Property for Hong Kong People scheme. Both sides were awarded to China Overseas Land and Investment for a total of $4.5 billion. But since then, other anti-speculation measures have been imposed, including a stamp duty on sales of flats to non-local buyers. The chief executive has even suggested that the Hong Kong Property for Hong Kong People scheme could be suspended, as the government's property cooling measures have been effective in curbing speculation, and there's no longer an immediate need to implement it. Anne-Marie Sim, TVB News.
At least one person is dead and dozens have been injured as Typhoon Mindule continues to hammer parts of Japan. The storm, which made landfall in Tokyo yesterday, is now bearing down on Japan's northernmost main island of Hokkaido, flooding rivers and villages. Residents are on high alert as the storm sweeps across the region with wind gusts of up to 180 kilometers per hour. Torrential rain and windstorms have lashed several prefectures, disrupting train service and forcing the cancellations of hundreds of flights from Tokyo's two main airports.
Well, Nicolas Sarkozy wants his old job back. The former French president has announced that he will make a run for the presidency in 2017 if he wins his Conservative Party's November primaries. The 61-year-old was unseated in 2012 by the now deeply unpopular François Hollande. James Aiken reports.
The energetic but divisive politician, who is both loved and loathed by Conservative voters, made the announcement on social media, saying, "I felt I had the strength to lead this battle at a troubled time in our history." Sarkozy has done little to conceal his desire to return to power since taking the helm of France's main conservative party, Les Républicains, in 2014. Polls show his support has been growing among core party members. He will join more than a dozen contenders vying for the party ticket in primaries, where former Prime Minister Alain Juppé will be his strongest rival. Sarkozy has chosen to make another bid for power as France faces deep worries over national security. The country remains in a state of emergency after a string of deadly Islamist attacks. Sarkozy has been highly critical of François Hollande's security record, urging France to get tough on immigration, crack down on Islamist militancy, and halt the erosion of France's secular identity. Sarkozy has also been courting voters tempted by France's far-right National Front. Political analysts say his emphasis on hot-button topics of French identity and the credentials to present himself as an experienced commander-in-chief may boost his chances. But controversy and legal troubles surrounding party financing and campaign overspending have also dogged Sarkozy. Critics say his performance on free market reforms to revive the economy was weak, and his authoritarian and abrasive style has damaged French society. Sarkozy's announcement comes just 8 months before the presidential elections. If, as expected, no candidate wins an absolute majority in the November 20th primary of France's main conservative party, a runoff vote will be held a week later. James Aiken, TVB News.
Staying in Europe now, and the leaders of France, Germany and Italy have stressed for the need for a unified Europe after the Brexit vote, and they decried the rise of populism, warning it poses a threat to the European Union. The stakes are high. European unity. The leaders of France, Germany and Italy got together and honoured one of the founding fathers of the ideal. It was a visit heavy on symbolism. The island of Ventotene off Naples was where Italian intellectual and federalist Altiero Spinelli, detained by the fascist regime of Benito Mussolini during World War II, began co-writing a manifesto calling for European political unification in the early 1940s. German Chancellor Angela Merkel, French President François Hollande, and Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi also boarded an Italian aircraft carrier, the Garibaldi, for talks. It's at the heart of the European Union's migrant rescue and anti-people smuggling effort. Renzi highlighted the challenges facing the bloc after Britain voted in June to leave the EU. Many people thought Europe was finished after Brexit. It's not like that, he said. We respect the choice of the British people, but we want to write a page for the future. That's why our priorities now are security, common defence and collaboration between intelligence services, among other things. Both France and Germany have had their share of extremist attacks. Hollande said Europe should have a framework of protection. For security, we need to have borders that can be guarded, and we want more coordination in the fight against terrorism. Merkel, whose policy on migrants faces opposition at home, stressed the need for European countries to continue to cooperate in their fight against the smuggling of refugees across the Mediterranean. The three leaders also promised to fight rising populism. They said Europe has to turn its back on those who blame the EU for all the continent's problems. Meanwhile, they said young people should have more opportunities on the way forward, but did not go into specifics.
In U.S. presidential politics, Donald Trump is demanding an investigation into whether Hillary Clinton gave preferential treatment to Clinton Foundation donors. While a judge ordered the expedited release of 15,000 documents to that effect, Clinton is trying to convince voters that despite what Trump says, she's in perfect health. Sonia Artero reports.
The FBI may have exonerated Hillary Clinton for mishandling classified material on her private email server, but Trump refuses to back down.
Hillary Clinton said she turned over all of her work-related emails. She testified to Congress under penalty of perjury. Now we learn about another 15,000 emails she failed to turn over, and they've just been discovered, I guess, today.
Trump said only an independent investigation can be trusted to determine if the Clinton Foundation was a pay-for-play scheme. Conservative watchdog Judicial Watch insists the latest emails reveal wealthy donors got favors from the State Department during Hillary Clinton's 2009 to 2013 tenure there.
After the FBI or Department of Justice whitewashed Hillary Clinton's email crimes, they certainly cannot be trusted to quickly or impartially investigate Hillary Clinton's new crimes.
The State Department told a federal judge demanding the immediate release of the new emails that they'll turn them over in mid-October.
But I think right now our focus is to move forward with our assessment of these, appraisal of these documents.
In addition to an email debacle, Clinton offered to have her pulse taken to prove Trump is lying that she suffers from bad health.
I have to sort of step into the alternative reality and, you know, answer questions about am I alive?
I think it would be...
How much longer will I be alive and the like.
Are you in good health?
Here, you take my pulse while I'm talking to you.
Okay.
Make sure I'm alive.
Oh my God, there's nothing there.
There's nothing there.
Sonia Artero, TVB News.
And still ahead. Supporters of a political movement in Pakistan attack a TV station, leaving one dead. Ryan Lochte dumped by 4 major sponsors after lying about being robbed at gunpoint in Rio. And a penguin inspects the king of Norway's guard.
What sort of ecosystem exists in a massive forest that annually experiences the world's most remarkable floods, which can extend 20 kilometers into shore? Tonight, Brazil and natural history, the last episode at 9:35 on Pearl Spectacular.
This Dyson cord-free vacuum isn't just for floors. It cleans crevices, ceilings, even mattresses, in just a few simple clicks.
To prevent avian flu, you should keep away from live birds, have a balanced diet, and exercise regularly. Avoid smoking and alcohol, and get enough rest and sleep. If you have any flu symptoms, wear a mask and see your doctor.
Take action now!
They are the world's best, and they are all here for one final battle. Hong Kong Squash presents Cathay Pacific Sungkai Financial Hong Kong Squash Open 2016. Live Saturday and Sunday at these times on Pearl.
And welcome back to TVB News. Authorities in Pakistan have raided the headquarters of a political party whose supporters carried out a deadly attack on a TV station in Karachi yesterday. Protesters linked to the party MQM stormed the premises and opened fire. They then clashed with police outside, leaving one person dead and several others wounded. MQM has accused the media of failing to cover a hunger strike held in protest of the recent arrests of party members. The violence prompted paramilitary forces to raid MQM's headquarters and detain 5 of its top leaders. An exiled party leader in London, who had criticised the media, has now apologised for what happened. He said he was under severe mental stress over the arrests of the party members. Singapore is in mourning over the passing of its former president, S.R. Nathan, who died yesterday at the age of 92. The former president passed away peacefully last night at Singapore General Hospital, where he had been staying since he suffered a stroke late last month. He was Singapore's 6th and longest-serving president, holding the largely ceremonial post between 1999 and 2011. He also held other government jobs such as High Commissioner to Malaysia and Ambassador to the United States. A state funeral will be held on Friday.
The Philippine Supreme Court has temporarily barred the burial of the late President Ferdinand Marcos in the Heroes Cemetery for 20 days. The High Court made that decision after 5 groups filed petitions opposing the burial of Marcos in the Heroes Cemetery in Manila. Newly inaugurated President Rodrigo Duterte had given his approval on the basis that Marcos was a soldier during World War II. Those who oppose the decision argue that Marcos, as a dictator in the 1970s and 80s, amassed $10 billion in ill-gotten wealth. They also say thousands of suspected communist rebels and political foes were killed while Marcos was in office. In 1986, he was ousted in a people power vote and fled to Hawaii, where he died 3 years later. The former president's son wants to bury his father on September 18th.
More local news now, and the condition of 2 elderly men who suffered from smoke inhalation in a fire in Meifu, Hsinchu yesterday has turned stable. The blaze broke out in a ground floor rubbish collection room at a residential building on Nassau Road. Smoke was seen billowing from a flat on the 15th floor. The 2 men are aged 88 and 94. Ocean Park has reported a 10% drop in mainland visitors so far this year. But there's been a slight increase year on year in the number of local guests and overseas tourists visiting the park. Today, it unveiled new Halloween attractions, which it hopes will lure more guests to the park. Rachel Leung has the story.
Ocean Park has seen 10% fewer mainland visitors so far this year when compared with the same period last year. But on the upside, the number of Hong Kong and overseas visitors is slightly up by 0.5%. Park officials have identified their target market to improve the figures.
We are targeting local tourists as well as the overseas tourists. So we are actually, most important is our teenagers as well as family with kids, especially for the daytime activities.
In a bid to boost visitor numbers, the park has teamed up with the Hong Kong Tourism Board to attract more visitors from Southeast Asia, including those from Singapore and Thailand.
The park also unveiled its new Halloween attractions, which it hopes will increase visitor numbers by 5 to 10%. There will be more than 1,000 ghouls and ghosts for guests to contend with. The Halloween Fest will be open to the public from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. starting on October 2nd. Rachel Leung, TVB News.
Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying confirmed today that the national women's volleyball team, as well as internet sensation and Olympic swimmer Fu Yuanhui, will be among the mainland athletes visiting the SAR this weekend. He also noted there's a need for Hong Kong to improve its policy on sports integration within schools. Winna Wong has more.
The national women's volleyball team earned a stunning victory on Saturday when they beat Serbia at the Rio Olympics to take home the gold medal. The victory was even more exciting because it brought an end to China's 12-year Olympic gold drought in the sport. The Home Affairs Bureau confirmed today that the women's volleyball team will be among the group of Chinese gold medalists to visit Hong Kong on Saturday. Speaking before an executive council meeting this morning, Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying revealed swimmer Fu Yuanhui is also on the list. Although Fu only won bronze in the 100 meters backstroke, she has taken the internet by storm, both in China and internationally, with her antics during the Games. Leung did not forget to acknowledge the performance of local athletes in Rio and praised them for making Hong Kong proud. He said the government will conduct a comprehensive review on Hong Kong's sports support. Leung noted the UK's good performance at the Olympics and said it has much to do with its sports integration within schools. Secretary for Home Affairs Lau Kong-wah also said today that many members of the Hong Kong team this time were homegrown athletes. He says the Kai Tak Sports Park project is a major government investment and hopes the Legislative Council will support related funding in the future. Winna Wong, TVB News.
So, Tony, what's happening in sports?
Well, the fallout continues for Ryan Lochte, US swimmer. 4 major sponsors have dropped US Olympic swimmer Ryan Lochte, including swimwear maker Speedo and fashion label Ralph Lauren. It comes after Lochte lied about being robbed at gunpoint after a night out during the Rio Olympics. One of America's most decorated swimmers is in hot water over his recent antics during the Olympics in Rio de Janeiro. 4 major sponsors of Ryan Lochte have ended their relationship with the swimmer because of the fallout from a false story he told about him and his 3 teammates being robbed at gunpoint in Rio. Among the sponsors to drop Lochte, swimwear maker Speedo and fashion house Ralph Lauren. The 12-time Olympic medalist, who has already apologized, said he respected the decision of his sponsors. The financial costs of losing Speedo and Ralph Lauren are likely to be only the first sanctions that await Lochte. Both the US Olympic Committee and USA Swimming have indicated that Lochte will be punished, perhaps endangering his hopes of competing in a 5th Olympics in Tokyo in 2020.
The question of what the consequences are for the behavior is one that our Games Administrative Board is going to take a look at shortly after we get back. I don't want to speculate on what those consequences might be.
Lochte's story began to unravel when police said the swimmers, who had attended a late-night party, never reported the incident, and there was little evidence of a robbery. Video surveillance emerged showing the athletes getting into a confrontation with armed security guards over alleged vandalism at a gas station when their taxi pulled over to let them use the restroom. While there have been conflicting versions over whether the guards pulled their weapons on the swimmers, Lochte has since acknowledged he was highly intoxicated and that his behaviour led to the confrontation. Well, after all the Olympic excitement over the last 2 weeks or so, there's Champions League action to look forward to. After a 1-1 draw in the home leg of their playoff against AS Roma, the stakes are high for FC Porto as they kick off again in the second leg tonight. Porto's coach admitted that he was expecting a tough match against the Romans, but says his team was ready for the challenge. It's one of 5 qualifying fixtures for the Champions League being played tonight.
And finally to the Edinburgh Zoo, where a very famous king penguin officially inspected the King of Norway's guard in a grand ceremony. Edinburgh Zoo's king penguin was given a promotion on Monday. His new title is Brigadier Sir Nils Olav. The highly decorated penguin was bestowed the honor at a ceremony attended by 50 Norwegian soldiers. The bird is the official mascot of the King of Norway's Guard, thanks to a decision made in 1972. That's when a lieutenant called Nils Egalian arranged for the Royal Norwegian Guard to adopt a penguin at the zoo. The penguin was named Nils Olav in honor of Nils Egalian and King Olav V of Norway. And that's the news.
Thanks for watching. Good night.
When a computer hacker turns a city into chaos,
we are in control now.
Their only hope,
tell me to shut down the virus,
goes up in smoke.
What's in smoke?
I can't stop it.
How do you know?
Because I wrote it 5 years ago.
It's like fighting a fire with gasoline.
Who are you?
This is
Tonight, Arrow, Season 3 at 10:40.